Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and unicorns. I'm always not directly looking at you when I start my stream, but looking in this direction. This is where I can monitor my audio levels. And as is the usual with me, I always am like 80% certain we are having technical difficulties. So I'm glad that it's the 20% to 100 that is not plagued by technical difficulties. Hello, everyone. Thank you for dropping by at such a late hour. Frank, even despite being in, I think, almost full lurk mode, nevertheless managed to answer one question correctly, which secured him place number 2. But Lady Misleaf dominated with 8 out of 8 questions correctly answered. And Cursiboo, a strong third with 33% of the answers correctly. And Red Pixel, a strong entry, relatively speaking. You still made it onto the top 5 with 0 questions answered correctly, but still you are there. I'm so glad that you're all here despite the slight delay. Sorry for that. It's as always when I announce something, things get in between, and so yeah, I'm not nothing serious. I'm just glad that I can still make it. Hopefully you didn't have to wait just for the stream. I don't think you sit there and wait patiently that the stream starts, and if you do, first, thank you so much, and second, I'm so sorry. So I'm glad that we're all here finally. But on the plus side is I have a wonderful assortment, not just of unicorns. Why is the camera angle so wrong? Because the unicorns should actually be looking also into the camera at you. Hi, Ashley. I get a beautiful assortment of beverages here. Of course, my clear crystal tea. Then I have coffee from afternoon today, which I completely forgot about, and it still looks slightly stronger. And then I have here some hot chocolate that Connie made in my Yoshi mug. So I'm set for the evening. None correct, says Red Pixel, still fourth. See, this is how cozy it gets here on the stream. Lady Mischief says, preventative measures against technical difficulties. Difficulties. Now I get it. Now I get it. I've read difficulties, so probably should have also my eyes checked. Please tell me if the joke is getting old. Apparently not, because I'm still laughing. And hello, Cursiboo. Also, thank you so much for making it at this late an hour. So, what is cool, what is new with your good old pal Phil? This is the same old, lots of stuff at work, but also progress on the post-mortem. So I'm confident might be a strong word, but I'm hopeful, let's put it that way, that it's out before the next Ludum Dare starts, with is in 50 something days from now. So hopefully, if I can keep up the pace, we will have a post-mortem, and one that was started in 2021. So it's an oldie but goodie, but still weirdly modern in terms of my editing, because of course after all these years, and whenever I do another pass of it, I try to see if I can change things here. So it is, yeah, it's an old post-mortem, but with current editing techniques and all the things that I'm up to. So hopefully you're going to enjoy it. And Red Pixel says, oh, I participated in Ludum Dare twice. Wonderful. Yeah, the next one I think is 53 days. Let me check. Let me Google that for you. ldjam.com. This is where the big old countdown is. 55 days and 3 hours from now. So it's on April 17th this year. The next one is going to be in October this year. So yeah, fingers crossed that the postmortem will be out by then. Lady Misliff said, I mentioned it a few times, but I think your brain just read straight up difficulties. Yeah, apparently it went straight over here. I mean, you can't see the hand. This is how much overhead it had over my ability to grasp the joke. So thank you for spelling it out. And Kersey, amazing 25 streams watch streak, despite me being such a flaky streamer with sometimes I have to forgo the stream today. I had to push it 1 hour and you still managed to make it. Thank you so much, Kersey. I really do appreciate it for being such a stalwart watcher of this stream. You got this. Thank you. Red Pixel says, I've kids nowadays. I don't have full weekends anymore. I totally get it. I don't have kids and still don't feel like I have full weekends anymore because there is so many things and that are always in need of being done or need to be doing. And for some reason, it's weird. The older you get, it feels like time is running through your fingers for some reason. Because it's just like what I've heard one people say, it's like the older you get, the more trinkets you have in your rooms compared to when you were a teenager. And the same thing goes for things that eat up time. It's not much. It's everything is just a little minute here, 2 minutes there, and then when you think of it, an hour is gone by doing small things that you didn't think to do when you were, I don't know, 14 or something. So, I have a secret weapon, and that is cutting back sleep. So this is why you see probably some bags under my eyes. I really should get this sorted out. But apart from that, naps are now a thing, and I'm totally on board for naps. And thank you for subscribing, Red Pixel. Whoop whoop! I raise my Yoshi glass in your honor. It's not a glass, it's a mug, but also with the Starbucks siren there. Look at you. Thank you so much for subscribing with Prime Gaming. This is why we have Amazon Prime. Oh, by the way, Amazon Prime, there is, what was it called? Amazon Luna? I think this is the streaming service. So when you're having Amazon Prime, and I think some of you have, apparently there's a game streaming service out there. It's not the current blockbusters, and also of course they don't offer any Twitch gameplay games, but I haven't tried it myself, but I think you can, it's essentially it's a browser, and you can connect up your gamepad and get started right away. And I think one of the most top-rated games there are party games. So this is something that occurred to me. So, same thing with Netflix. Did you know that when you have a Netflix subscription, you can also get games from the Netflix app on Google and iPhone and iPad? Who knew, right? So just my little service announcement. Check this out if you're paying for it anyway. Lady Misleaf says, I convinced the hubby to sleep an extra hour. He caught the bad cold going around. Oh no. Also here, it's, I don't know, everything, it feels like everyone is having the cold nowadays, and it's staying. It's just sustained. Usually we have the waves of cold and flu, but for some reason it stays. So far, I'm feeling rather well. So let's hope it stays that way. I have a feeling he will be sleeping on and off the couch all night. He works nights. Oh dear, poor fella. I hope things get sorted out in that case. And I agree, says Lady Mislip. Thankfully, my work is flexible with the hours, so afternoon naps are absolutely a thing when necessary. Oh, that's wonderful. Sometimes at work, I also can nap because I have a couch, I even have a cushion there. And when something is rendering for half an hour, 20 minutes quality nap time. I sound like a pensioner, but it's good. I can recommend it. And Red Pixel says, I also have 1,000+ Steam games. I think I have too much to play anyway. Thanks, though. Yeah, the good old pile of shame. It's I think the games that are in this Amazon Luna are on the same level as, I bought this with a Humble Bundle someday in 2017. Who knew? Maybe I play this one day. You probably won't, but you still have it. And I think it's on the same tier with there. But I totally get it. It's one of my pastimes is I feel like I want to play something, and then I just browse Steam for half an hour and go, nope, maybe later, no, oh, that's interesting, perhaps one day, nope, not feeling it right now, and then I play the same old, I don't know, Into the Breach that I've been playing for hundreds of hours. My kids also like me like me to skip sleep, apparently. Oh yeah, of course, kids. They demand lots of time and attention. Like I said, I don't have any, but I have a nephew and a niece. So yeah, I know what you mean with they demand lots of time from everyone around. Lemmisliff has 182 games, one app for me. Okay, so you have 182 games in one app. Please, not quite sure I get the context. My son has the flu, says Red Pixel. Oh no, glad I haven't caught it yet. Usually it's when the kids catch something, you either get it or I mean, you probably will get it. The question is just how severe it's going to be. But on the upside is, especially when you have kindergartners around and grade schoolers, your immune system gets all the hot shit, the current trendy things, the bacteria, the trendy viruses that are going around. So if something new crops up, you're the first to get to inoculate yourself essentially through your kids, because they just keep picking it up. Lemmisliff wants to play Timberborn so bad, but they are coming out of early access on March 5th and Steam achievements. Oh, of course. Timberborn, it's the beaver game, right? Oh, I haven't. Okay, 182 Steam games and one app. And okay, so the A Sprite. Yeah, the app that I have is Game Maker with Steam, so that's it for me. But yeah, so of course you don't want to play the game because what is it worth it if there aren't any achievements for it, right? Our achievements have ruined so many games for us, because it's, I mean, if you play something and the game says, yeah, with one playthrough you probably won't get all the achievements, or it's impossible to get all the achievements, some people go like, okay, now this is my main game until I get them all, so achievement hunting. And with other games, for me, it's like I'm not 100% on the same collectible mindset with that I need to get all the achievements. But I would lie if I didn't if I said I didn't look up, okay, what is the hardest achievement to get in this game? And is it on my wavelength, or is it just outright just grindy or something? So in other words, yeah, of course I look, and I have this wonderful shower of endorphins every time I get the achievement unlocked pop up. Oh, I'm ruined. Okay, Red Pixel is playing No Man's Sky after 10 years. I've heard it's good now. Yeah, that's I mean with No Man's Sky, I think many of us remember the utter overpromised shit show that the launch was, because they promised so many things with the game and multiplayer, and so they didn't say quite that it's not there yet or that it's not possible. They always said so, maybe something along those lines, and of course people had vastly different notions of what the game will be when it's out, and of course this disappointed many people. But really, to their credit, they just stuck with it and kept improving the game and really started adding features like base building or something. So I've heard that No Man's Sky, after 10 years or something, is now a pretty good, pretty complete game. So good for you. It's always fun, says Lady Mistleaf. It's always a fun one to go back from time to time. Timberborn, right? It's, yeah, again, you have those cozy games, those feel-good games where it's like, yeah, I do not want to occupy myself with learning a new mechanic. I just want something that is mildly engaging, but still allows me to unwind compared to just sitting in front of the TV and waiting for, I don't know, whatever it is, and so that you don't start drooling because there's so little input from you. This is what I like about my cozy games. It's just the right amount of challenge. Lady Mischief says, it's more the fact that I play games in cycles, so I don't want to get fed up with the game before the achievement comes up, so I gravitated back to Planet Crafter. Yeah, okay, that also makes sense, because with some games, I think with gaming, it's a bit like eating your favorite dishes. Of course, if you have every day is pizza day, it's great, but after 2 months, you probably want, let's say, a plate of spaghetti or something, just something different, despite pizza still being pizza, right? Red Pixel says, I'm not that into achievements, but I miss 1 out of 150. I will have. Yeah, that's a completionist thing, right? If I totally get it. If you have all the other achievements, so with me it starts around when I'm having with one game 95% I would say of achievements, of course, yeah, then the hunting starts. And I don't think that I like it, but I love having completed something. Coming from me with my year-long running postmortems, that's saying something. So you know how much I enjoy when something is finished now. No Man's Sky, says Lady Misleaf, was overpromised at first, yes, but over time they did deliver, right? And Red Pixel says it's really good now. I mean, on one hand, it's fun bashing a game that launches terrible, but it's on the other hand, it's even better when they really come around and fix it. Because the worst is a game that launches horribly and then just gets worse, or the developer completely forgets about it. So. Because then, of course, your reputation is more or less burned. What was the latest one? The Build a Rocket Boy from the Rockstar guy who got fired from Rockstar or was laid off and then started his own game outfit, and in the end what came out, Mind's Eye, I think last year, it was just a shit show. And of course it felt so much like they had to push it out, otherwise they were never going to make it. And of course what they pushed out is horrible and it's going nowhere. So yeah, that's the other side of the coin. Let Me Sleep says, that reminds me, I have settlements that were getting into debt the last time I stopped playing No Man's Sky. Oh boy, they're probably drowning in debt right now. Oh, thank you, feeding the automated unicorn spaghetti, Cursey-Poo. And oh yeah, that is another thing, is games that keep on simulating the world even when you're gone. This is what turned me off Animal Crossing. Because when you haven't played Animal Crossing for a long time and you return, the entire island is just doing a big old guilt trip on you. So essentially everyone is just, where were you? What so much happened, you missed so many things. And I thought, oh god, I mean, Animal Crossing to me, when I played it during the pandemic, it felt a little bit like a job. I had my 20 minutes every day that I did all my chores in Animal Crossing. And I realized, you know what, when I don't do this, I'm actually having a better day. And so I stopped. And but again, when games really do this, I mean, as a game developer, you think, oh my god, it's even more engaging, and maybe the game even sends you notifications. How cool is that? It is cool, but only for a game developer, because as a player, I mean, what you want is when you come back after 2 years or something in a game, you don't want to be that everyone in this game world is mad at you. No, they should be happy that you return, maybe do a little parade. So yeah, our main player has returned. Here are, I don't know, 100 in-game bucks. Buy something nice. And by the way, this is a tutorial again, because you probably don't know about 90% of the mechanics anymore. But I have yet to come across a game that does something like this, where it feels like, oh, I'm celebrated for coming back. Most of the games, like I said, that do this are like, where were you? Things have gotten so much worse since you were gone. And yeah, this, no fun. Lady Misleaf also says, the pizza and spaghetti analogy is accurate. I play a game obsessively for a while, then I get tired of it, switch to the next one on the list. Oh, I have about 5 to 6 on a regular rotation, with some less frequent players that come back from time to time. I still need to hunt achievements in unholy heights. This is... I sometimes see in Steam pop up what you're playing, and most of the time it's no game I know that you play. And I find this is quite fascinating, because with the other people that I see, it's they playing, I don't know, still GTA 5, for example, or what was the other one, Red Dead Redemption, or the big ones, right? And with you, it's always seeing something, you know what, maybe I should check this out because you've been playing it that much. Looks interesting. And a Ghoul Prince is also here. Hi Phil, hi chat, hi Ghoul Prince, thank you so much for dropping by. And I still remember your postmortems as Lady Misleaf. Phil, I had one last thing to do. Oh yeah, gets his daily token thing in Animal Crossing. I hate this game so much. And that was the last time that I played Animal Crossing New Horizons for, I think, 2 or 3 years. And then I returned once, saw everything gone to shit. And then I thought, yeah, not coming back to this. Exactly. Try playing idle/clicker games. The longer you leave, the more progress it makes for you. Yeah, that's the thing, Kersey. It feels like, yeah, it does do progress, but when I'm babysitting it and actively trying to maximize things, my progress could be so much better. It's a little bit why I'm watching progress bars while I'm rendering, because I have a feeling when I'm watching it, it's slightly faster, or things don't crash as easily when the computer knows someone is watching. But yeah, with the clicker games, I tried them, and at first I thought, that's cool, I don't have to do anything, the game plays itself. Then of course there was this slump, so why should I play, because the game plays itself. And then I realized, you know what, when I'm just doing the math just very roughly in my head, it's probably more efficient to upgrade right away and have the exponential dragon, so to speak, with those clicker games. But yeah, maybe I should find someone that is a little bit more lenient in that way. Red Pixel says there is an achievement in the Stanley Parable called Go Outside, which requires you not to start the game in 5 years. Wasn't it 10 years with the latest update or something? I kind of like this. I think some people already have the achievement, but those are probably nasty old cheaters. Shop Titans is a total money grab that I don't necessarily recommend. Okay, good to know, because I've seen you play Shop Titans. I played because I have had some progress prior to realizing I was stuck, but I can leave it run in the background while I poke away at other things, work code, AFK, etc. Yeah, of course, this makes sense. I think what I've seen recently was one of those games that just lives on your desktop, but it's not that much of an idle game, but instead the progress that you make is by typing on your keyboard. I think the game is called Bongo Cat. It's a free-to-play game, and you can purchase for real money silly little outfits for your Bongo Cat. And the worst thing about it is, or the thing that I think made it go through the roof, is you got friends lists, and especially in game journalists, where lots of people do lots of typing, then of course there was this friendly competition going on. So I've heard stories from journalists that they just went all in with this and tried to one up their friends, but just by typing more. So and I think it feels more like a game because you're actively contributing to it, and it's not something that randomly works. But I'm thinking of doing something like it, but that just counts your mouse clicks or something. So in that case, you would have you could play my game that is just, I don't know, let's call it Clicker Cat, and that just collects your clicks, and but while you're playing a clicker game. So you're playing the clicker game and you're also progressing in Clicker Cat. Think about it, that's meta. Oh god, this actually could work. Okay, Red Pixel says I got the 5-year achievement. In that case, probably then I was wrong with the 10 years. I put it in my calendar to start again. Oh, that's great that you have. Also, if you have things like this in your calendar, please be very specific, because I also have things in my calendar from 3 years ago, and it's just an abbreviation that I have no idea what this means anymore. But apparently, Phil 3 years ago was super important that F5XKC is now important on this very date at this specific time. I'm sorry, past Phil, no idea. Percy says, idle games is faster when you actually play, but still rewards returning. Why play any game if it was backwards? That is, of course, true. Otherwise, I mean, it wouldn't have a draw. I mean, I think especially the free-to-play idle game market has a big, let's say, self-regulating, I sound like an economist there, force. So essentially games that aren't any fun or don't have enough progress probably fall right through and don't see any following. But other like what was it, Cookie Clicker or the Paperclip game, of course, they do something much more interesting and more engaging as well. So of course, maybe I should give them another chance. You're right, Cursey Boo. Kirsty also says, I used to play clicker heroes, a little more traditional, I guess. And Lady Miss Cliff says to Kirsty, I just bought Particule, never heard of it, and have to admit I enjoyed it, but I'm not sure how normal I am to just watch pixels drop on a screen. Okay, just watch pixels drop on a screen. You already had me at pixel. So, Frank says, I have to interrupt my lurking to tell you about this guy. Preserved fish that I just found out about. Parents should really think before naming the children. Oh dear. Is this a person whose name is Preserved Fish? And yes, Preserved Fish, July 14th, 1766 to 1846, was an American businessman who was a prominent New York shipping merchant in the early 19th century. He was an early broker of the New York Stock and Exchange Board. Preserved Fish. Oh, thank you, Frank, for sharing this. So the fish is his last name, and Preserved, of course, is his given name. Oh dear. And what's really funny about this entire Wikipedia page is before the article starts, it says, for the process, see fish preservation. Oh dear, that's really a burn. But Preserved grew 8 years old, so good for Preserved Fish. None of Fish's children survived, so Phil Fish apparently is not related to good old Preserved there. Oh dear. And Red Pixel is, of course, a red pixel. And Lady Mischief says, I think I played Tangerine Clicker. It was a cookie clicker with a funny twist, and the automated unicorn agrees. Right, so first let me finish my hot chocolate, and then let me quickly show you what I want to continue doing today, because it's going to be my little cozy, in a sense also a bit like a clicker game. It's mildly engaging, but nothing is too stressful, and hopefully maybe I can share it with you, and it's also a little bit cozy or interesting to you as well. Cheers, by the way. Mr. Fish says, Kirsty was a stockbroker unfittingly. Right, I mean, wouldn't have been more fun if Preserved Fish would have, I don't know, a fish processing plant, but then of course that would have been too much on the nose. I mean, what could Preserved Fish, what would this be a good occupation or a good job for good old boy Preserved? Oh dear. Yeah, there are some of these kind of joke names as well in German. I don't think any translates well, but yeah, it's a different thing if it actually happens. A fisherman, yeah, a fish counter attendant at a store. A fish counter, yeah, that would make too much sense. I think if Preserved Fish and he's a dentist or something, this would really. Do you want to go to good old Preserved Fish, Dr. Fish? Yeah, I don't know. I probably should think more about it, of what would make a good bad thing. But I think there's a joke in there somewhere. Oh dear, yeah, making jokes of stockbrokers from the 18th century. Then again, I think it's always fair to make jokes about stockbrokers. An international spy. They hear his name and think it was a code name and never look further into him. That's code name Preserved Fish. Or, yeah, and his code name is Chips or something. Yeah. If you have such a name, just roll with it, because no one would be called this and work as a spy. That the name is way too on the nose. Do fishes have no? I'm overthinking this. Let me switch over to what I want to show you. Yes, it's my beautiful desktop, but actually that's not what I want to show you. The stream notification said, let's do some PlayStation 1 style graphics. And this is due to a rabbit hole that I recently jumped into. And maybe some of you have heard it of the LSD Dream emulator, which was a question mark art game. Let's see if I can find something here to share with you. Yes. Yeah, let's start with the good old Wikipedia page. So the LSD Dream emulator is an exploration adventure game released for the PlayStation. And yeah, just from judging from the images here, this, for example, is the township of Happy Town, and essentially it's a weird artistic experiment, but it has also some rules. So essentially, you start out in a dreamscape. And depending on what things you look at or how much time you spend in one dream, and whenever you transition to the next dream, it changes. Certain things change, maybe or maybe not, or what is there, or maybe there is a figure hunting you or slowly following you throughout different dreams. So again, it feels like some found footage creepypasta nowadays, but it's not trying to be a horror game essentially. But you know what? Maybe I can find the playthrough that I've seen of this game, and I thought, you know what? I really like the PlayStation 1 aesthetics of this. Let's try this again. LSD Dream emulator. It's a good name as well. The entire Dream emulator iceberg explained. Okay, this is not what I've watched. There's even a soundtrack. Lion attack event. Okay, someone is doing a lot of video uploads regarding this, because it's such a weird niche thing, I feel. Let's see if I can show you something from here. So essentially, you start out by dreaming every day, and depending on where you are and what you're doing, like I said, it influences where you end up the next time. And you switch between different dreams just by colliding with something. It could be the walls or some entities. So whenever you collide with something, it changes something somewhere. So in a sense, it's also an early version of the anomaly games, where you look, okay, has something changed since the last time I was here? Has it not? Along those lines. So again, I found this strangely inspiring. So in this case, here the person just walked into this fence, and now they link to another dream. And so in this case, apparently, okay, they're in Kyoto, in ancient Kyoto again. I'm saying again because I've already watched something like this. But overall, it has the exact aesthetic of what PlayStation 1 hipster games nowadays, what they look like or feel like. And yeah, the water is glitching, and of course you can fall under the world, and then of course I'm saying of course, but it grades where you are, how on this matrix of how your trip went. So was it an upper or a downer, or was it more static or dynamic what you were dreaming, and so on and so forth. So essentially, I'm playing this now on mute, but of course also the audio. Again, it sounds like some 1990s weird audio experiment. I mean, I switched it on. I'm not hearing it right now, but maybe you hear something. It's weird, and I love it for that. So Red Pixel says, gotta sleep. Good night to all of you. Good night, Red Pixel. Hope sweet dreams, and thank you for dropping by. And Andrew JK is also here. Thank you for dropping by, Andrew JK. And Ghoul Prince says, the game has such good vibes. Very pretty. I hope we're talking about the Dream emulator here. But yeah, again, it looks like someone was trying to make a super obscure PlayStation 1 game, and apparently it already exists. So this really, I mean, look at this. That's some weird, crazy shit right there. There we have the huge geisha, and then there is also, this is Happy Town. So essentially, you know what I feel? That this game was full on with liminal places before it became the thing that it is nowadays. Because I think there are other games on Steam that also try to more or less have the same aesthetic, just modernized and with the entire SCP foundation, liminal places, a little bit of horror mixed in. And what I find interesting about this game is that it's just saying it emulates dreams. It's not really a horror game or something, but there are let's say there is the district that is called the Violence District. It's like this harbor area. Maybe we can get to it. That is already a little bit let's say nightmarish in a sense, or nowadays in this case here the textures just changed. So from one they take from one part of the dream the textures to the next, so the textures stay the same. So again, it's very dreamlike, it's very weird, and I'm here for it. So, and again, this had me rethink about, okay, you know what, for what do you actually need for PlayStation 1 style graphics or PlayStation 1 style texturing and 3D models? And so I set out to remodel, or not just remodel, to model the house of my parents in Maya in 3D. I think I closed it, or did it just crash in the background? Anyway, so this is what I started out with this afternoon, just because I felt so inspired. And it's actually, I don't think it's going anywhere specifically, but it's just that I'm trying to see if I wanted to make something with PlayStation 1 style aesthetics, how would I do this? And the first thing I realized is that doing the classic modeling and texturing how you usually would do it doesn't quite work in that case. I mean, it does work, but it's harder to get the PlayStation 1 aesthetic in. Let me show you an example, or what I've been doing, because then it's a little bit more clear what I'm saying. A Good Prince says also sleep well, and Lady Misliff said good night, Red Pixel. The game is wild, yes, says Kersey. Kersey, have you heard of it before? Because to me, I think I came across it a couple of weeks back, and so the last 3 or 4 days I really looked into it and thought, again, this is an iceberg, because there are wikis out there, and one wiki even trying to reverse engineer the game, the logic behind it. Because on one hand it's dream logic, on the other hand, of course, it's a game, it's a product, it's a program. There must be logic behind it, and what is it, and what is the game actually keeping track of, and what changes accordingly. So let me find this, the PS1 street. So I'm setting this as the project, and hopefully there we go. Yes. So right now you can see not much there yet. It's just the facade of a little house in a row, and when I switch over to the wireframe view, you can see it looks a little bit differently than how you normally would model things. So this is how I realized how it works best for me when I'm doing PlayStation 1 graphics, because let me show you when I find it the texture for it. So let's go with this one. So here we go. So no, there we go. So this is the texture. I brighten it up a little bit. So everything is laid out in little tiles, and I made sure that the tiles are actually tileable. And they also have some baked in lighting. For example, you can see here with the concrete, there is concrete with a shade on top, with a shade at the side, with a shade on the corner, with a shade going in a U shape and in an O shape around it. And same thing here for these kind of tiles and so on. So and this is how it looks textured. So it's not looking very PlayStation 1-y unless you get very close to it, but this is just so that I can work with. So every section here is one tile. So of course you can see it when you look at it. For example, here it's kind of clear that there is a reflection going on in the center, because I tried to make the things tileable, and yeah, playing with reflections is one thing. And so usually how I would texture this is just I model it in one big block and then texture it and slap a texture on for this entire side. But like I said, with PS1 style, you have to be much more conservative with your texture budget. So essentially I can't slap on a big 4K texture there. So instead I have to use what I have to make the most of it. So the PlayStation 1 was not that good in terms of texture memory, but it was more like a polygon processor, and it was very fast and you could do lots of polygons but not so many textures. In a sense, I think the Nintendo 64 was even more limited when it came to texture resolution. This is why everything has this washed out super low spec look, but lots and lots of polygons. And in comparison, of course, to the PlayStation, the Nintendo 64 had advanced features like it wasn't as wobbly as the PlayStation. It had perspective correction on the textures. It had bilinear filtering. This is this washed out blurry texture mess that we now associate with the Nintendo 64. This was actually the hottest shit back then, that you could filter your textures. The PlayStation could not, so this is why you have these big blotchy pixels, because it couldn't blend them together. So yeah, talking about PlayStation 1 graphics, so this doesn't look really like a PlayStation 1 graphic, because it's relatively high resolution. So it's 10 by 10 tiles across, and each tile here I already limited myself to 128 by 128 pixels. But of course, if you were on an actual PlayStation, that is still a little bit too big. So I also tried to have different, I played around with different downsamplings, and one that I have is just a quarter of what I have right now, and limited to 16 colors. And let me see if I click something here. Yes, you can see now, let's make it a bit brighter here. Well, perhaps a little bit too bright, but you can see with some dithering applied in just a quarter of the resolution. Now this looks very low specky. And so when I apply this now here, it feels much more like a PS1 kind of game, despite I'm still here in Maya. And also through this baked in lighting information, like we have here this black gradient there towards the top, or here underneath the stairs where it's having this black fringes there on the outside. So again, this is all baked into the texture. On the PlayStation you could do this via vertex shading. So essentially a vertex is, when we're here in 3D space, a vertex is every end point or corner point of a polygon, so to speak. And vertex coloring means now you can give such a vertex a color. For example, I could say that this one down here is black and the other one here is blue, and then of course it would mean that it's doing a gradient between black or blue or some other color. And this is essentially how you could quickly fake things on the PlayStation. Of course, when you don't have a vertex, when you don't have any kind of edge for a polygon, you can't change the color there. So if you wanted to have more colors, you had to up resolution, or up the resolution of your models, for example. But most of the time this was not that much of a problem, because like I said, the PlayStation was pretty good when it came to pushing through polygons. Anyway, Kersey says, the LSD game I heard of a long time ago, never played it. Yeah, I haven't played it either. I think you can, of course, nowadays run it in an emulator, but as far as my research, and I did just cursory research, was that it only came out in Japan. And again, which makes it a prime candidate for something like creepypasta. It only came out in Japan. My god, it's so weird. It's on the PlayStation, but it emulates LSD. Isn't it weird? It really sounds like some internet joke. So yeah, and this is what I want to continue today. Just make a model of my parents' house in PlayStation 1 style graphics. So and same thing here for the stairs. The texturing essentially was more like that I started out with just using one segment, one textured face there, one textured polygon. In this case, just here a part of those tiles. You can see here, oh, Lady Misleaf is playing Shop Titans again. just got the little pop-up. So hopefully you can see it here when I hover my mouse over it. I make this a bit darker now that this gets highlighted. So here the vertices should snap actually to the pixel borders, and this makes it also look very, very crisp and very sharp. By the way, I'm not even certain that this is the final palette that I want to go with, but overall just a quarter of the resolution that I had. So essentially we're at 32 by 32 pixels per each of my little tiles there, and a maximum of 16 colors, or entire 16 colors for the entire palette of the entire artwork here, of the entire texture atlas. And I think this gives a very, very close approximation of how it could look on a PlayStation. Of course, should it look cool, or should I want to test it, then I can bring it into, I don't know, Godot and use some PlayStation 1 post-processing and then see how nostalgic it feels. But again, it's some people have they build their little bottled ships, and for me it's doing this. So how would I continue? Well, first I want maybe to show you some of the references for this. So this is how the street looks like, and it's one of these houses there that I'm lots of details that I took photos of here. So yeah, hopefully you can see which one of these is my target. And of course, the cool thing is because everything is in this long row, most of the houses essentially they have the same layout. So maybe it's just a matter of swapping textures, should I want to go there. And so yeah, some mellow day in the winter, I did lots of photos for this. And what I also like is my mom loves roses, and this is why we have here this huge rose growth. Just grow out from underneath the stairs. So maybe I can approximate this as well at some point. But overall, I also hear these weird, I don't know if I want to keep this little bend in there. But of course, to me as a kid, I mean, I used to play there, and it looks so small, of course, nowadays. And even this is, by the way, this is underneath the stairs. So my mom has there just the Christmas lights hooked up because it doesn't rain under the stairs. But as a kid, I used to hide there and play with my little action figures there, because this was the cave, right? So yeah, lots of childhood memories there. So, and I thought, you know what, maybe recreate this and see how well it goes, and if I can continue, and maybe again make something like this Dream emulator out of it. Yeah, this is the other side, and there is the other. Why am I always right clicking there? This is the other side there of the rose bush tree hedge, I think. And there we have also my mom. And yeah, whatever this is, I never was sure, because she didn't really tend to it as if it were a garden, but also never, I don't know, I said, why not pour concrete there or just do something? But for some reason my mom always likes it when it's slightly has this overgrowth here. I don't know why. And so yeah, texture photos, and yeah, that's mom. Hi mom. So and this again is my references for what I want to do. Then of course we have here this railing. When I was a kid, this one was green, so maybe if I want to recreate it, I want to have it green. And also here in the back you can see there are also some slabs with concrete, and there's also some with the neighbors some cracks there. Again, as a kid I loved to play there, because it was just it felt despite being there out in the open streets, still somewhat that you had your little hiding place. So right, and this is how it looks right now. So what I want to do perhaps is maybe continue there with the main entrance door and the first window that we have there on the first story. So as for reference, this is how it looks like. This is the door. We got the good old mailbox there, and some weird ornaments. I never was sure what's it about the ornaments, but yeah. And maybe even have here the trash bin. at some point. Let's see how it goes. Again, since I want this to be lo-fi, I try not to go overboard with the details, but at the same time, I want to stick to it at least a little bit closer than to just making this as 3 cubes with textures and be done with it. So again, it should have a nice balance between, yeah, this is textured and this doesn't have to have a texture or something. Yeah, hopefully we will see when we get there. So I will keep this open here, and so I can show you exactly what I meant when I say texturing is slightly different. So let's make this a bit brighter, that it's clearer to see what's going on. So here the white part here of this house, this is just my template. So I'm not going to texture this. I will roughly follow the shape. This is again just something so that I knew on how to model it. So how should I start? So, and I already have here, maybe let's start here with this little trim. With this part here, I don't know what the architectural term is. Is it an awning? No, it's not an awning. It's just this little, in German we call it a Sims. So it's just this little slight overcropping there of, yeah, it's just bricks, I think, with a color. Kirsty says, I might mostly lurk for the rest of the stream. Ironical, get a competing N64 game annual stream to watch alongside you. All good, Kirsty, all good. I hope you have fun with it. So I'm happy that you're still considering lurk mode. Thank you so much. And yeah, have fun with the N64 stream. By the way, what's it about? Is it a speedrunning stream or just 40 years of Legend of Zelda? And Disease is also here. Hello. Keep forgetting it's the weekend. Oh, Kirsty, thank you so much for reminding me to have some of my clear crystal tea. Also still have half a mug of coffee. How did this happen? Well, it happens when you have a little pet project and get completely absorbed by it. Okay, so how do I start this? And I do this, or I started doing this by, instead of modeling everything out of boxes, I model everything out of little patches, because then I can texture as I go along. Ocarina of Time, low A press all dungeons tool, assisted speedrun premiere. That's a lot of words. Okay, but also very cool. Low A press, never heard of this. All dungeons, but I know what a tool assisted speedrun is, by the way. For those who don't know, speedrunning makes sense, right? Playing a game as fast as possible. And a tool assisted speedrun is that you can use, of course it makes sense now, tools. And tools are more or less like an emulator, where, for example, when you don't have an emulator and the speedrun is just go through the game as fast as possible and try to be as perfect as possible. With a tool assisted speedrun, essentially it happens that after each frame the execution stops and you can change what's going on. So it's much easier, well, not much easier, you can pull off much harder things with a tool-assisted speedrun, where the timing is of utmost importance, where, okay, if you hit, I don't know, the Goomba in frame 348 since the title screen, you can really time this and make sure that you are exact in the right frame, in the right position, doing a pixel perfect thing. And again, this bit has to do with so much research. Again, this is fascinating. Beat the game pressing the A button the fewest times. I love this kind of self-imposed challenges. It's like the first thing that happened is, can you beat Legend of Zelda on the NES without getting the sword? I thought, why? Who comes up with this? And then we have things like the Nuzlocke Pokemon runs, or pressing low A press. Of course, this makes sense. It's amazing. I love the community. Andrew JK says, haven't seen Ocarina of Time low A press in a long time. What's the countdown down to nowadays? Okay, I would assume, okay, you at least have to press A like 600 times, and then probably someone tells me, yeah, the current maximum is like 3 times or something. Or maybe since it's the premiere, you're about to find out. Yeah, not spoiled. Okay. Well, have fun, Kersey. And if anything cool happens, please let us know. So, yeah, as for this little outcropping there that I want to recreate, I already have it here. And let me switch back here to the wireframe. So you can see it's relatively evenly spaced, my little quadratic patches, because again, each patch corresponds to one section here in my texture atlas. So this is to keep it relatively uniform. And this is why I'm most of the time just copying, pasting what I already have, and then just adjusting. So in this case, I can use most of what I have here, but let's get rid of some things that I have no use for, and it's those parts. And this is a little bit shorter, so I can also get rid of that. So now all I have here is this little L section. So let's adjust the pivot point to the lower border, because now I can snap it everywhere, which is kind of cool, or very helpful, because I like it when things snap to other things. And it took me quite a long time that I modeled without learning how to snap vertex points and edges with other vertex points. Again, it's really something that you probably should already know when you're doing this. But yeah, I'm late to the party. It's still fun. Kersey says, and Commander Stitch is here and says, oh, and Kersey says it should be many hours long, so gonna need to check yourself later. Okay, so the Ocarina of Time speedrun is still not a speedrun that's done in like 3 minutes, right? So that's good to know. With certain games, especially when you aren't using glitches or exploiting things, the good thing is even a speedrun can take hours. So thank you. And yeah, Commander Stitch, we're doing PlayStation 1 graphics, and I'm recreating the where is my reference? My parents' house in PlayStation 1 graphics. So it's, for reference, why am I always right-clicking? It's the house here on the left, and I'm trying to do now here this little... you know what? I have to look it up, because I always want to say Sims in German, which doesn't mean a lot in English. So what's it called? A ledge, of course. It's a ledge. That's... allegedly, I know what I'm talking about. And great stuff, says Commander Stitch. And yeah, thank you for feeding the automated unicorn, and it already pooped because oats. Cheers, by the way. So yeah, let's go ahead with actual PlayStation 1 graphics modeling. So I have already here this part. Let's compare it and see how it looks there on the texture. You know what? I love here this texture, but to work on it, I need to use the high fidelity version of this. So I switched this back to my high res version. And so there you can see better that in this case here, everything underneath on the lower side of the little ledge, it has already here this black gradient baked in, which again, I'm just faking lighting by texturing rather smartly, I would think. So right, but the ledge here needs on top something, so I just, you know what, I just copy it and reflect it. So essentially I just mirrored, I copied and mirrored what I have. So, and let's flip it over as well. No, not close. So, and now essentially I have the top part of this ledge as well, and I do not need the backside actually. So let's get rid of this. Yeah, probably could have done this a little bit easily, or easier, not easily. So, and yeah, there you can see this baked in lighting. Let's change the background here. So of course now it looks wrong. On one hand, it is wrong because the normals are inverted. Now it's a bit better. But so the most part here is just being smart with the textures. So I can select here all my textures, and then I just flip the texture there. Where is it? Flip. And now it looks like there is some ambient occlusion going on when I switch this back. So again, kinda simple but neat. So, and now these things here are still separate objects. So I need to make sure they are part of the same object. So I'm fusing them together. So when I now move here one face, it has been fused with the others. So let's just move it in place where it actually belongs. So let me hide here the original house for a second. And snap this to the facade. I think it needs to go here. And voila! We have this part there of the ledge. And of course now I can just duplicate it. And have it here as well. And of course I want to make sure that it's more or less there flush with what I already have modeled. So in this case maybe I can stretch everything. So again I'm just merging everything together. And now when I look at it from the top, I can see how far it extends beyond the bottom part here. So make sure that my pivot point is actually at the outermost edge. There we go. And now I can just scale it up and down and make sure that it's roughly where I need it to sit. That's pretty close. And for anything, oh, that's not close. I try to align it with here with the concrete part of it, but of course I need to align it with this side part. So I probably can't do this in the top view. I need to do this here in the 3D space. But overall, I think that's already pretty close. I just make sure that the vertices here at the end, these kinds that they are aligned. I'm snapping them now to where this vertex sits. So they should be exactly in the right position. So now we have here this part on top, of course, that's now missing. And for this, again, probably want to have the same color of the wall. So, like I said, I'm just copying and pasting. So what I'll be doing now is just swapping here the pivot point, and I duplicate it and I'm isolating it so I can delete everything now, because I'm only interested here in this part here at the bottom. It's because now I can just rotate it down like this and move it in position where it needs to sit, roughly here. And roughly is a little bit too rough, so I need to snap it exactly to where the other polygon sits. There we go. And do the same thing there for the bottom row. Snap, snap, snap. And here it sits now. So one thing that we can see now, this baked in lighting is incorrect here on this edge. I mean, I could say, yeah, who cares? What the hell? Let's just... It's not that important, but since I have you all here, let's make sure that it really sits where it needs to go. So for one thing is I snap here this part, that it sits exactly where the wall meets this polygon. And then I look at this face here in the texture. So again, yeah, this texture face sits where we only have here the top gradient. And down here we also have the side gradient. So we need something there that connects these things. And lucky for us, I already have one of these tiles that has here this little corner section. And overall, I mean, you can still see here a little bit of a transition between the different shadings, but overall, I would say it's good enough. Again, since it's baked lighting, and in the end it will be a little bit darker than what we're seeing now, so it's going to be a little bit like this, and maybe then there's lighting on top as well. So we should be good. We should be good. So then, of course, we can do the same thing here, where we say, yeah. Do we want maybe some shading on this part here as well. And I'm saying, you know what, since this is my little Zen garden project, yeah, sure, let's do this. So for this, I just need to figure out where it sits there in my texture space. And in this case, oh, wrong patch. So in this case, you can see here the gradient is on the right side, but of course this is not a problem because I can again just flip. This was flop. There we go, and now it's on the other side. There we go, and again it looks a little bit better, like there's some shading going on. And Commander Stitch recognizes the music. I don't know at what point you wrote this, because right now it's Seth Carissa M1, but yeah, most of it is Seth Carissa. Thank you for noticing, Commander Stitch. So this means there is music playing in the background, which is good. By the way, if I'm yapping a little bit too much, please let me know, then I can try to make it a more, let's say, chill stream. I think I've said this multiple times. I always want to have this relaxing serenity of a Bob Ross when I'm doing things, but then I'm overly excited by what I'm doing, and yeah, I come off probably as a little bit too excited. Okay, so let's bring this back, and so we have here the ledge on top. So if I move this out, we have the ledge. Is it a bit more ledgy? And I think, well, I think it could be a little bit wider or extend further to the front. So then I can just scale it up a little further and we're good. We're good. Make sure to tell Seth the music is great for me. Yes, I will. I will. If I talk to Seth again, I will make sure to let him know. Kirsty says, invite Seth on stream someday. You know what? We should do that. We should do that. Seth is a very busy person, but maybe I can convince him so that we have maybe we can play a multiplayer game together. This would be fun. I'm sure Seth would be up for it. We're here for your yapping, says a gold prince, with Bongo Cow. Oh, this is cute. Thank you. That's very reassuring. Okay, so let's check the reference. So we have here, this part is still this cappuccino brown color, but then everything is here in this whitish eggshell colored paint. So for this, again, I can just copy and paste what I already have made. And isolate this and delete everything that I do not need. Maybe I should save this at some point. So, and here we are. It's as simple as that. That was kind of neat how well this works. So, and now everything here has this color. Okay, so let's have a look at our texture. Where is my UV editor? Animation rendering editors. Where was it? General editor, modeling. Must be under modeling. There it is, UV editor. So again, for those who aren't aware of what the hell a UV is, so you're probably familiar with X, Y, and Z as the coordinates in 3D space. And essentially, you also have on a texture, you also have the coordinates in a two-dimensional grid. But since it's on a texture, instead of saying X and Y, we say U and V to differentiate it from the actual world space where something is here in the world. Instead, we're just interested in where it's here in the texture. And this is why it's called U and V. And U and V extends from 1 to 0 in all directions. So 1, 0, 0 is in UV space usually here at the bottom left, and 1, 1 is at the right top, and everything in between there is a fraction between 0 and 1. So in this case, for example, here this patch of my model is in texture space at 0.1 x and 1 full one Y. So this is the top vertex of this one. So again, I can change here. When I change something in the UV space, you can see here in the model nothing changes, only where this texture, where the pixels on the texture are being mapped. So yeah, just a quick introduction to what texturing is actually about. And usually, this is also what I said before, is when I'm texturing something for, I would say, photorealism, usually it's the more pixels you have, the better. So instead of what I'm doing here, for example, when we look at this brown part here, it's made up of a number of little patches, and every patch here is made up of this little tile. And when I were doing this with photo realism, instead of doing it in little patches, I would just slap on a big texture. Ideally, I take it there from this photo, maybe retouch it. But then, of course, I have essentially the entire wall with all the little inconsistencies and maybe this crack here. So or things that are dripping down here. So all of that would be baked into this texture and it wouldn't repeat. So instead, I'm trying to get something that looks where I can allow repetition, but it's not obvious that it's being repeated. So again, this is a long-winded explanation of why I'm using here these tiles. And this is why I'm just copying things here, because I already have these parts of the 3D model mapped and corresponding to the right UVs in the UV map. Right, cool. And of course, anything that is not visible is just deleted. So if we look at the back side of this model, yeah, the steps, when we are inside it, of course, they don't have a back wall or anything, because again, you're only looking at it from the outside. Makes sense. So let's save this. And oh yeah, maybe we want to see what is happening here on the other side, because I think it's something similar. It's going to happen on the other side. Yes. So there also this brown part of the wall extends. So I already have here this wall. Again, I can just copy it and fold it over. I said no, not delete. Did I just copy it? Let's make sure that I copy it. No, I did not copy it. So let's switch my pivot point there. Duplicate it. Yeah, that's better. And now when I can again flip it over and reverse the faces. And there we go, even already with the baked in lighting. Only thing that I just realized is that it's not lining up here. When I zoom in, you can see here, it's not lining up with the ground part, with this concrete slab or what it is. So let's see if we can make it line up, and that of course the texture stays roughly the same. Because of course what I could do is, if I just squash it, okay, I've selected a little bit too much. If I just squash it, but then now it makes, you can see that the texture is somewhat squashed compared to the texture next to it. So instead I will just delete these things here, and instead of squashing it, I will stretch it out slightly so that it's not that obvious. And for that it still works. So just snapping it. And can I move this up? Yes. So again, due to this baked lighting, probably I don't think it's necessary, but still, since I got you all here, let's also bake here this lighting into this part. Otherwise, it really does stick out when it's not, doesn't have this darkening going on there towards the edges. So let's take care of this as well. So again, when I move it around, you can see what is happening. So I move it to a part where I have two corners with the shading lined up. Flipping, flopping. No, still needs to be flipped. Right? No. This looks wrong. Maybe all it needs is this gradient on one side. There we go. and it extends a little bit outwards into this other, into the neighboring tile. So this is why let's make it a bit, oh, okay. I see what's going on. So there's a little bit more going on after it got occluded by this wall here. So the actual wall, if we're looking at it, here is a bit further back than this one here. So instead, also this wall needs to get a bit further back. And this also is the reason why this looks a little bit wild. So let's move it here. Make sure everything aligns pixel perfectly, of course. That's, like I said, that is not really something that you have to do or anything. It's my little Zen garden. Lady Misleaf says, I'm gonna leave a lurk, have fun, all good, Lady Misleaf. Enjoy your Shop Titans or the other games while you're waiting for Timberborn to finally be released. Again, thank you so much for dropping by, and yeah, happy lurking. And I try to have a more soothing voice that some people, if you want to fall asleep to me, hopefully you can. He said before drinking a sip of coffee. Oh dear, this is not going to be a chill stream. Well, Commander Stitch, very pixel of you, Thank you. What can I say? I have a thing for pixels. It's weird. So let's snap this here as well. So can I snap this line here somewhere? It looks a little bit like Rice Krispies. So yeah, here this concrete slab there, I haven't really touched or mapped. I will leave this out for now because it's just here that there is something on top of it. So this is not yet properly textured or modeled. So saving this now and continuing here with the facade. So as always, why start anew when I can duplicate something that I already have? And, you know, or probably it would be better if I start with something that's perfectly quadratic, because this is, I started out here on this wall, and there you can see that my patches are relatively quadratic, and as soon as I'm here, they are a little bit skewed on some portions, and when we look here at what is actually hidden, yeah, things start to come apart a little. So instead, let's create a new 1 by 1 meter wide polygon that is a plane, just drawing it here onto the grid and setting its size to width and height 1 times 1. Then of course I give it the texture, and now it shows the entire texture, which is not exactly what I want. But instead, I only wanted to show part of the white wall. I make this a little bit darker, that we actually have some definition there in the white, as faint as it may be at this point. And maybe change the pivot point as well to something more sensible. So, okay. Let's change the texture or the UV size then to the first cell here of the wall. There we go. So it looks completely white, but if I zoom in and maybe turn down the gamma a little, you can see there's actually some definition going on. And I made sure in Photoshop that this tiles perfectly. So when I duplicate this a couple of times, you really shouldn't see actual where it starts to repeat, which again is good. But it has a certain grain to it, so I have to make sure, of course, that this always stays the same, so that I'm not mixing grains, so to speak. I can show you what I mean by that. So if I rotate it just by 90 degrees, for example, you can see here that this one goes vertically, and here it goes horizontally. That's wrong. Horizontally. So of course I want to keep it horizontally, of course, for the wall. So Let's bring this here and just flip it over. And that's already almost there. You can see here I've snapped it to the wrong part, so actually it should be snapped here. Or should this wall, this part, just go a little bit further back. Maybe that's the right call. Then of course I also have to make sure that the ledge extends back and that this part here also extends further back, which means I have to adjust these vertices here and of course this one. There we go. Okay, everything sits now on the same coordinate. But oh, there we have a slight. I'm not sure if you can see this, maybe a little if I zoom in. So this gray here is the background, so I can switch here the background, so you can see it peek through here. Again, not a big problem, but it's not very elegant. So to fix this, I can move here the ledge upwards a little bit. So that it intersects perfectly here, which it does now. This part does not yet, but I don't think you will be looking there. And the other thing is, when I'm looking up from below here, no, this aligns well enough. Good, okay. Extending this edge, and now this should be relatively waterproof. And I will save this now. And yeah, so we have here this one little patch of wall. And so my rule of thumb is that in my texture page, sorry for blanking there, every tile is roughly 1 by 1 meter. Again, you can stretch it a little bit further or a little bit, make it a little bit smaller, but overall each of these things here is roughly 1 by 1 meter. If I'm not using it for something else, like here for example the number on the house or the door. So right, and you can see already here, there it's pretty obvious, the baked lighting. So I'm always keeping it here, this gradient from the top, from the side, at the corner, a slight U, and a fully enveloped portion, should I ever need this. So, and here the first two, there is a slight variation between those. So for example, here we have this little cutout there on top. In this case here for the concrete, it's just a different, this one is not tileable, this one is, and as here for the house facade, yeah, it's the same. I just have it here too, in case that I need it. So and what I'm doing now is I'm just duplicating and snapping things, and in this case I can shrink it a little bit. Because it's so bright, it's really hard to tell the difference because there's so much contrast. To really see something, well, that's maybe a little bit too much. I have to decrease here the viewport brightness. If I want to show you something there in the stark part, I have to increase it. And you know what? Maybe it's also a problem there of the texture. This is one thing that I've also learned the hard way, that my textures are usually too bright in the texture editor and too saturated. So especially when you're doing these kinds of mushy, grainy, atmospheric PlayStation graphics, it's better to be a little bit lower on contrast and saturation, and then it feels a little bit more realistic. And of course you can always bring up the saturation should you need to, but when I'm starting out, it's better. I mean, I start out too bright and then always come back and bring things down little by little. So this is why I keep things here in my Photoshop file in a way that I can always come back and make things lighter or darker without being destructive. So for example, if I'm clipping something and it's completely black or white, because I'm still keeping here my my curve as an adjustment layer, I can always come back and adjust it, hence the name adjustment layer, so that I'm not losing anything. So I'm not painting myself into a corner and then say, well, yeah, now I have to have it because everything I cut off at some point my colors. So, and I will do this change here in the brightness of the wall, independent of how the fake shadowing towards the corners goes. Something like this. Yeah, let's try this. Let's replace your texture. And when I reload the texture, it should look much darker, hopefully. Reload. There we go. Yeah. And interestingly, now with the lighting in the viewport, it doesn't look really dark or anything. It just still looks like a white wall, but not this gleaming white where it feels a little bit too much. I mean, you can see there is a little bit of repetition going on, but I think again, since this is going to be a low-res PlayStation 1-ish game, it should be good. Okay, so I still have here these little elements separated from each other, so let's combine them together and fuse them together, or merging the vertices. So when I'm doing this, everything is now connected. So just that it's a little bit easier to handle. So disregarding for now the door, I just copy it over here and make certain that I have here this one strip of facade of front wall complete, so that I can just stack it upwards. So where is my reference? Here is my reference. Let's move a little bit back to have it somewhere further. So yeah, when you look at it, the difference in brightness between here this dark brown wall and the white wall, here it's much less pronounced. I started with this kind of dark brown, this espresso brown, because I picked the texture from this side, and this is much more in the shade than this side. So you know what? Let's make here the dark wall a little bit brighter, the brown wall. And again, for this, I have here that I can set the color and the brightness individually, so that exactly I can make these kinds of tweaks. So let's see how it looks now. Reloading my texture. Haven't I saved it? I think that's the right texture. Reload. Yes, that was okay. Now again, it looks like Rice Krispies. Maybe it was too much. So again, you can see here how differently it appears here in the viewport than in Photoshop. So this is again why it's for me at least, it's always this constant back and forth. So I just make it a little bit brighter and do not really mess that much with the color instead. Oh dear, now we know. So reloading. Yeah, let's keep it like this. Okay, so as for the front wall, again, I've now here this entire strip, and that I can just stack on top of itself. So, and one thing to avoid this tiling, this obvious repetition in these patches. Oh no, I have soft selection now active. Let's undo this. I will just, instead of copying it and stacking it like so, I will flip it. So instead of doing this, I do it like this. So it's always reflected in the center. So this is also done relatively simply, so that I can just fold it up like so and reverse. Okay, so now we can, it's pretty obvious what I'm doing here, which might have not been the best call. So I'm not sure if this comes across here in the stream, but you can clearly see here in the middle there is this brighter spot that just keeps repeating. So that is one of the issues when you want to have something with a structure, but also that the surface is relatively uniform so that it's not apparent where the tiling happens. I think it works very well with the Rice Krispies here, but of course the wall is very bland. So when you look at it from further away, it really looks like there is nothing interesting happening. So it's always this balance, finding the balance between having interesting details and also details that are pretty obvious that they keep repeating at some point. So is it better if they are repeating? Yes, and it's a little bit better. I would say it's a bit better. So I will combine now this as well and merge with itself and delete my history. Deleting history in Maya, everything has an undo history, every object. So when I'm moving a vertex on one object around or changing the texture, this is all retained. And at some point, especially when I'm trying things out, I will not come back to this and undo it for every individual object. So this is why you delete the construction history of it, so that the file becomes somewhat manageable. Because other times, especially with bigger projects, you have hundreds of objects and every object has thousands of history steps. It's good if you messed up at some point, but this is why you save in versions. So instead, this is why I sometimes say delete history and then be done with it. So let me compare this here with my reference. Well, you know what? I'm roughly there. Also, this is not measured. This is just thumb times eye, how I measured it. So I think this counts as relatively as a facade. But again, you can see here that there is some repetition, some tiling going on. So maybe I'm thinking of having here this 1 by 1 meter. Maybe I can have 2 meters by 2 meters. So DC says this isn't Blender, right? Exactly. Yeah, this is good old Autodesk Maya. Not because I have anything against Blender. Actually, it's the opposite. I'd love to get started with Blender, but in good old 2005, I got started with Maya and came from 3D Studio before that, and it took me. It was such a hassle to get into Maya, and I still feel I'm somewhat proficient with Maya when it comes to hard surface modeling. And whenever I try a Blender, it feels so completely unintuitive, because again my brain has been hardwired for Maya. And again, it's my problem. It's not a problem of Blender. Right. So as for the door, I think this here already looks like it could make room for a door here. The question is, how large is the door actually? And can I take something here as a reference? And maybe this wall here with the garage door. So it's actually these, in this case, the little patches aren't 1 meter, but more like 50 centimeters roughly. So this is roughly 2 meters high. So if I copy this and bring it here as my reference for door size, something like this. And when I switch here to the wireframe, you can see here we have competing wireframe sizes, which again also might not be the best idea. So you know what, I will just delete what I did and instead try to keep things a little bit more uniform. So what I have here with this door group, since I wanted to do this anyway, change my the patch size to double what we've had. I can do this by just changing here this door size. So not the door size, using the tiles here of the door, this 4x4 thing. So if this gets merged together and I take it out, and this is now one part of the texture, one tile in the texture. So let's do this then. Oh no, there are some vertices still in there. They need to go. Okay, now that's better. So, where was my... Here they are. Okay, I feel now this is a little bit better. So then the repetition is not as obvious if I have it like so. So as for the door, let's first make the door and then move things where I need them to go. So the door should probably be here in center. Let's check how the door sits in my reference. Okay, there we have it. So it's relatively centered with the stairs. DC says, all these software look like rocket ship control panels to me, very daunting. I only tried Cinema 4D once in a game dev class. Yeah, Cinema 4D, I never got to grips with Cinema 4D because to me it felt so backwards. And this is really a problem of 3D software. And I think nowadays, if I would start over again, I would go with Blender. Because as you say, it's a rocket ship design in a sense, because it has so many functions and knobs there. I mean, one thing is I can change here the UI. Right now it's to rendering. If I switch over to modeling, all the menus, not all of them, but most of the menus here changed to just doing modeling. Or if I'm doing rendering, of course, or even effects, then I have here my particles, my fluid simulation, my cloth and hair simulation. So Maya is really a beast. And I also learned it in college when I was studying 3D animation, because again, with big old film productions and visual effects. And I mean, you can, with Maya, this has been the industry standard for this kind of thing. So this is why we learned it, and this is why I'm still using it. But over the years it has grown so much. Like I said, we have some physics simulation inside of Maya. Of course, the entirety of animating with bones and inverse kinematics and motion curves and everything. I mean, I have wrong shortcut. I have here a timeline, of course, because in case I want to animate something. Animation is a whole different beast. So yeah, I totally get it that this, I mean, I even have here my shader graph, which the hypershade has looked like this since I think Maya came out in 2000. Nowadays people are much more used to it because it's the blueprints system in Unreal Engine is pretty similar in how it works and how it looks. So at least in that case, it has grown a little bit more accessible because other tools are doing something similar. But again, once you've learned it, it's super hard to go back and learn something else, because it always feels like it took me years to get to this point where I'm somewhat efficient with this software. Of course, then I would have to start over. Right. Okay, so let me first try to lay down how I... Should I base where these patches start? Probably when I have the door, right? So it's probably should get first my door, right? And then get the wall. It's a bottoms-up approach, I think. So in this case, let's say this is here where I want to have my door, but probably not there, but a little bit more centered. I need to... No, that's not the pivot. That's the pivot. Okay, can I snap it to anything that feels like it's centered? And this doesn't quite look centered. This looks centered when we look at the ridge there. But of course the ridge is not perfect there on the tiles, because it stays here consistent until we are up here. Why is that? Okay, probably due to this edge. Then I have to move all these edges slightly over. Like so that it aligns better. Yeah, I think that was it. Good. Okay, so I would say that this is going to be the door, And for the door, I already have prepared it here in my texture. This is unused, so I have here this kind of unsorted, as it's called now. This is not yet used, so I just bring out the door and put it somewhere where I'm going to use it. Again, you can see here the door looks a bit weird. That's because, again, it's reflected there in the center. So maybe... oh, the Ghoul Prince need to be going. Good night, y'all. Good night, Ghoul Prince. Thank you so much for dropping by. And yeah, lots of inspiration, and have fun with the new game you're making. I've read all about it in your socials. So, for example, I mean, I could also just reflect it here in center and save half of the texture space. Again, texture space is not that big of a problem, but if I were on the PlayStation, it would have been. So the only thing is why I'm not doing is because on this side I have here these hinges of the door, and on the other side I do not. And one thing, of course, that is missing now is a door handle, because again, this is just reflected with the hinges relatively quickly painted out. And also here this wreath on the on front on this glass panel. I mean, right now it's baked into the texture. So you know what? For now, I will keep it. I will keep it for now. Just going to save this. Or let's save it and save this as a copy, so that it shows up there in my texture. Reload. There we go. And then I will use here this, I mean, it's 2x4 tiles that I have, so I think this corresponds nicely with how I've laid things out in the texture page. Yes. Hang on a second. Gesundheit! My wife just sneezed in the other room. So let us do this, and voila, everything is looking just peachy. And now I can use here the patch that I've already prepared there off the wall and just move it over. And oh dear, squash it a little bit. Looks good. I like sci-fi games. So glad that you made it. Spät aber doch und rechtzeitig zum Oldschool-Haus. I like sci-fi says, late but still and just in time for the old-school house. I think we had the exact same tiles. Oh yeah, these orange ones, you mean. Yes, I think they've been a staple in houses that were built in the early 70s, I think. And my mom has bought, I think, a big supply of them, so that she can always, when one breaks, that she can still change it. And I think they haven't been produced in 20 years or anything, but we still got some of those. And oh, Gesundheit auch vom J. I just told Connie Gesundheit from you. Totally 70s Austria Deluxe. Yeah, I think this 19 Austrian 70s style or Spießerchor or Spießerpunk. This is really an aesthetic that it's a bit like this Yugoslavian aesthetic that I think I would love to see more of in games, because either everything looks super slick or everything is good old America, right? So if there's something that looks like it comes from a different part of the world, I think it could benefit from. And also, it's always nice when you see something that you haven't seen before. So let's check back with the reference. There we go. Okay, so one thing that of course I need to make sure is that I mind that there will be a window at some point, and the door entrance here is also brown, and it's a little bit extruded inwards, but yeah, we can take care of that. Again, it doesn't have to be super detailed, but if it's just a little bit like so, I think this is more than enough. Okay, so for this part of the inwards extrusion, what can I take that I already have used? You know what? Let's take this part there of the ledge. And why is it not doing what I want. Now it is. Okay. I like sci-fi games. Have you played with Maya in the last 20 years? Like I did. So this is a bit too large, and or wouldn't it be nice if we actually keep the same number of patches as we have here in the door? I think this would be good. So let's delete here some faces, and oh, I like sci-fi. I will never touch this tool again in my life, and the next one. All good. I feel you. I feel you. I wouldn't either, but I'm having fun with it again because I'm just so afraid of Blender. So this is why I'm still somewhat clinging to Maya. And yeah, for the record, yes, I am paying for Maya. This is not a version that fell off the truck somewhere. No, every year I'm paying way too much for it. So this is why I'm trying to make to get as much use out of it as possible. So let's fuse them together. There we go. Did I just copy? Yes, I did, but not merge them together. So there we go. That's good. You know what? Maybe before I do this, we have some fake lighting going on, which I haven't done here. Why did I not? So that's almost correct. Maybe like this, and then flip. There we go, and now we have some fake ambient occlusion here going on. I like this. But it's cool to see people doing cool stuff with it. Yeah, that's what I always think when I see people doing Blender things, because I would never be able to. So, good. You know what? The door frame is coming along pretty nicely, I would say. And since everything I'm sticking to my 2x2 grid, in this case I can just combine, merge, change the pivot point. Oh, let's bring it here. Duplicate. Reflect. Oh, there's something. No. Okay, all good. And reverse the normals. There we go. No, they were already reversed. Reverse the reversing. There we go. Ah, this looks good. This almost feels like getting home. That's weird. I like sci-fi games, but it's cool to see cool people doing stuff. Are NURBS still a thing? No, I don't think anyone is using NURBS outside of scientific modeling of, I don't know, how space folds in the 6th dimension. For those who don't know, what I've been showing you, these are all polygons, you know, like we know and used to, polygons that are just big old triangles. But there is a thing called NURBS, which is just a different way of doing geometry in 3D space, and I haven't created NURBS in a while now. Can even find them. NURBS primitives, there we go. Because NURBS is also nonlinear, uniform, rectilinear, something. So, and the only upside of NURBS is that, for example, if I have here, let's go here. I mean, it's a plane, you can't really see the difference here. So if I create, let's say I create a polygon sphere, and when I get closer to it, you can see here, this is not the polygon sphere, this is the polygon sphere. You can see here that it's still made up, you can see that it made up of little segments. And so that you do not see that everything is just flat polygons, what do you do usually with polygons? You just crank up the tessellation until it looks like it's round. But of course it is not round, everything is just made out of little triangles, or in this case little rectangles. And with NURBS it's a little bit different, because with NURBS everything is mathematically described as a curve essentially, which of course if you're a mathematician it makes sense, and if you look at this and you will say, hey Phil, I still see here the that it's a little bit angular, and this is, yeah, it's still being rendered in the viewport as polygons, but underneath it's curves. It's perfect. It's just a formula that describes it's a curve. So and of course, to see this, I have to change it somewhere here in my tessellation settings. So this again is how it will be rendered, because when you render it, everything will be turned into polygons. But the only upside of this is done dynamically, that it always will look smooth. So if I crank up the surface precision substantially, now everything is perfectly round here. This is the upside, is that it's mathematically perfect. The downside is it's a bitch to texture, and you can't really animate it. And yeah, polygons, friends, polygons. There's a reason why polygons have survived, and no one is talking about NURBS again. I like Sci-Fi says, to be perfectly honest, I never really understood what NURBS are. There we go. So the only thing that I use NURBS for nowadays is when I need something like a photo table or a photo desk background. And this is when I'm using here, when I have here this NURBS plane, and I want to render something but have an, let's say, an infinite white background. Of course, I could try to make it go, scale it up, that it goes up to infinity, or instead, where can I say surface isoparm? Can I insert isoparms? You know what? Let's make this the old-fashioned way, where I just add patches to it, because I changed now here the isoparms. I inserted them manually. This doesn't work. See, this is how fun it is to work with NURBS. You just change numbers and it breaks on some point. So what I wanted to say is what I'm using NURBS for is, so I want an infinite background, and this is what I do, because when I render this, this will look perfectly round. It will render always as perfectly round. And it's again, it's like a photographer's table, where you put something that you want to photograph here in the center, light it, and the background will always be super smooth, and you won't see a cut or a horizon line. That's the only thing that I use NURBS for nowadays. And back then, I like Sci-Fi games. You remember Kershi modeled a freaking car out of it. And I think only in automotive, maybe when you're designing cars, NURBS are still a thing. But nowadays, it's not. No one uses it. And now you do. Glad that I could explain NURBS to you so many years after after the fact, after we actually had to use them. So now I have here a bit of a problem, because I still need some tiles to go there, and this doesn't look nice. So what I can do to make this work is, it's going to look ugly either way. So I will just duplicate this entire thing here, move it up. By the way, it still looks like this underneath. And let's move it that it roughly lines up here. Scale it up or down. And then just cut off anything that's not needed. So I can make a cut here, I can make a cut there, and I can make a cut right after it's beyond the door. So this means I can delete pretty much everything here. Good, okay. So the only thing, of course, that looks a little bit shady is we have here this dark gray part, and this one is again bright orange. So let's bring up the good old UV texture editor and figure out where I can position this that it looks a little bit more sensible. And probably over here, where I have already this shaded part. Yes, but I still need to flip it or flop it. Flip? No. Flop. There we go. So this one looks a bit funky still. You know what? No one's going to notice this. Don't tell Joey. Yeah, Joey was our professor for 3D, right? So yeah, hopefully he's not watching. Fun fact, I like Sci-Fi games. With Joey, since we moved here, we've moved from Salzburg away onto the countryside, like 35 minutes from where we were before, 34 minutes drive with a car, not by foot. And interestingly, I've learned that Joey, our old professor for visual effects, 3D animation, game design, lives just in the town over. Always has been. Interesting. And I've once met him in a cafe here recently. That was kind of fun. Okay, so I think this is our door. Let's save a new version and extend now the facade. Probably want to merge. Oh, I merged the wrong thing. What is happening here? I still have here the old rectangle there. That's unfortunate. So, okay, these 3 patches, let's bring them together, combine, merge to center, and now I can just stack them up nicely. Same thing here, stack, stack, and here I can... Oh, what happened? Oh, for 1 second I was a little bit worried. Talking about being worried, why is this not lining up nice? Oh, I remember, because I squashed this slightly, so I can just bring this over here and it's smooth again. So instead of having this many little patches, I'm only having like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big patches. So that's better, and also you do not see the repetition as much. So combine. There we go. And just stacking it on top. And I think this should work for now as the facade. Again, I need to bring in the window somehow. So cool. He is a cool dude. Yeah, that's the fun thing. He always was, and he still is, even after 20 years after we've had the pleasure of being instructed by Joey. So, you know what? Pretty happy with how this turned out. So the next thing might be here, this window. And for the window, I don't have many references photographed, I think. So from what I can see here of the window, it has the same kind of threshold of window, of door frame that we had here. And you know what? This actually extends a little bit deeper inside, which of course means combine, merge. That I also need to do something there on the bottom. So I move this back here, like so. I think this looks like a good compromise, but which means here I need now 2 rows. So yeah, I can start over again, but not a problem. Just duplicate it, isolate, and or changing the pivot as well. Now when I bring it back here, yeah, same problem, of course. I mean, I can scale it slightly. This should work. And Kirsty says, what is this building again? Oh yeah, it's my parents' house. My parents' house, the house where I grew up. Again, I thought, because I have so many memories, I shouldn't have a hard time remembering where exactly everything is and how things are laid out. And turns out, I'm glad that I apparently did shoot some reference photos for it, because I do not remember everything. Probably should have picked something from here. Oh, Mr. Troy is here. Troy's home. I mean, hi. Thank you, Troy. Thank you for dropping by. By the way, Troy, I've seen on itch.io you just updated or released a game. Care to drop the link to it as well? Please. And yeah, 36 months, Mr. Troy. Cheers to you. There's coffee, there's my clear tea, my crystal tea, and sadly the hot chocolate is already gone, but I'm in a celebratory mood today. Givers Hop, thank you. That's the 2026 update. Was this like the Q-Bird game? I'm working through my coffee as well. Yeah, I've had my coffee here since the afternoon. I completely forgot about it, and I think I even had a nap between having sips of coffee. So yeah, I'm still flying high on that particular Java. Right, so let's try at least to do the window here where it makes sense, or figure out where it makes sense. Don't these things line up nicely? Let me zoom in. These vertices, don't they line up? No, what happened here? Look at this. Zoom in. See, they should be on top, exactly on top of each other. What has happened here? Why? Which one is the wrong one? Okay, so looks like, oh damn it, I hate when things like this happen. So the top one was not aligned perfectly, so this means everything else that I have here is also not aligned well. And this, of course, makes things worse down the line. So it's good that I caught it right now and not. That's the worst thing when you do some modeling and then in the end you want to merge all vertices, do some, I don't know, mesh smoothing and be done with it. And you hit mesh smooth and then you see your topology is wrong in like 3 places. And then you have, I hope you remember well, or don't dare to remember, have wonderful things like faces or edges with 0 length, but that still contribute to the mesh smoothing, and non-manifold faces and n-gons and all the horrible shit that happens when you do things, when there are slight overlooks in how you do modeling. And still to this day, it happens with me, and it always bites me in the ass, and then it's a bit like debugging geometry, and it's as much fun as it sounds. Yeah, I'm from like 9 years ago, one of my first Ludum Dare games. That's nice that you remaster your Ludum Dare games. This is really something that I also thought, because I mean, with Ludum Dare you make something that's finished, and after the competition with the ratings, you really have something that is already user tested in a sense. So you know which actually of which prototypes are actually viable or worth pursuing further, and you never do, because it was the code is hacky, and probably you should have to start all over again. And then of course there's the next Ludum Dare game that you want to get started with, and yeah, so it goes, right? So it's cool when you come back to something and feel like, you know what, this actually has potential. Maybe if I just keep working a little bit further on it, I can bring it to market. And for me, it's always this. It just needs a little bit more of work. Then I start drawing and doodling and concepting and realize, oh, it requires a lot of work and probably have to reprogram anything or everything again. Oh dear. And yeah, I like sci-fi says, I try not to remember all of that. That's good. That's better. That's healthy. I like sci-fi. By the way, things that are unhealthy, again, you see here in the tiles that there is this slight gradient. And of course, it makes no sense that it is still here, because the wall now is not flush with it any longer. So instead, let's bring it back. Why can't I select it? Maya, why are you doing this? Okay. Probably should have snapped and not just eyeballed it, but okay, that's better. That is better. Okay, so what did I say? Yes, now we have here this door frame. Let's also snap this. That it looks good. And this door frame is, the window frame has the exact same depth as this door frame, and probably I would assume that the window has the same height as the door. I mean, here we can almost see it a little bit when I zoom in. So here, this is the top of the door frame, and I think the window also stops here. And it's roughly half the height of the door where it starts. Again, it doesn't have to be super perfect, just roughly. So I would say the window starts somewhere. Oh, damn it. This is what I've been talking about. See this point here? This is a vertex, but it sits here inside this edge and it's not contributing anything, just making things harder. So I tried to delete it and I cannot even delete it. I hope this is not... Oh, okay, good. All good, all good. This is because... so this is not what happened. This is just because here, this window frame. It's part of the window frame. All good. Oh, whew, okay. I was a little bit worried that something bad happened. But now I can use this as my reference here when I add a new division. I can't see this. By the way, you probably cannot see this on stream because I hardly can see it here. When I zoom in, this is a new division. This is a new polygon edge that I just inserted here. So which means now I can delete this. And why did I have to delete this twice? If I delete it once, oh dear. Is this really happening? I'm having double faces, but only sometimes, not everywhere. Okay, so this line looks good. If I delete this, there's only one face. That is good. Okay, then let's hope that... Oh dear, this is not good. Okay, so I need to... Because I had here two faces, so I need to insert this as well. Damn it. The double-edged sword is how much extra work is too much. Exactly, because it's still supposed to be rough. Yeah, that's the thing. You think like all I need is a main menu and 3 more levels or 10 more levels should be easily doable, right? And then you think, okay, but people probably going to complain they want different screen resolutions. What if something places on their Steam Deck? Maybe I need controller support. Or maybe a tutorial even, and suddenly this entire thing, all these things surrounding the actual game, they just explode, and at some point you feel like you want to work on the game, but all you do is work on the things surrounding it and not. And to me, at least, this can sometimes be really a killer to motivation. And Mr. Troy says, yeah, I had to step away because I wanted to... That's the thing. In my one and only Steam game, Finesweeper, which is the Minesweeper variant, and there, the main room is still called Proto because it was a prototype. I didn't start over, I just added to the prototype, and this is why it's nowadays it's unmaintainable because everything has been... I mean, essentially, it's probably what Adobe software looks like under the hood. It's just impossible to work with. Talking about things that are impossible to work with, what I need just one patch here, so... Instead of dancing around, I just duplicate the entire row, move this down, isolate the row, delete everything that I do not need from this row, isolate it again, and be done with it. Good. See, wasn't that hard. So there we have the window. The only thing now is, of course, here the windowsill is incorrect. Or missing rather. So, but I already have it up here. So instead, you know what? I can delete this. And then if I duplicate this part here and just rotate it and reflect it, it should be exactly what is missing. So I'm just taking here the pivot point, or where should I put the pivot? Maybe there on the edge. So I duplicate it, move it here, and rotate it by 180 degrees, and see, bam, 2 L's, and I have my window frame. Well, it's not the window frame, but the frame in the facade for the... You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Oh, I like Sci-Fi says, Phil, before I get a post-traumatic Maya thing, I think I'm gonna check out my... All good, all good. Wish you all a great night and fun with building Phil's old house. Bye-bye, I like Sci-Fi. Thank you for dropping by so much. I mean, at all. So one thing, of course, that I forgot now, when I was doing this flip is now here that the baked lighting is now on the opposite ends. So this means, of course, I need to adjust. And again, is it flip or flop? No, in this case, it's flip. Flip, 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 and we're good. So, looking at it right now, the actual thing that is missing is the window. So let's add the window to the texture atlas, and then I think I will call it a night for today. So I just need the reference of the window where to have a picture that is somewhat head on here. Maybe this one here. I mean, I still have here the reflection of the opposite end of the street, but I think, I mean, we can paint this out. Shouldn't be too hard. Kersey says, I once remade my childhood house in Hammer. Oh yes, the Valve Source engine editor, or at least tried. Funny thing is, I also tried to make my street back then in Hammer. And all I did, all I could do was something that similar as this, roughly, but without the actual stairs. It was just this, the part where the road drops down to the garage. Duplicated this a couple of times and put in an armored vehicle and a skybox and thought, oh my god, this is amazing. But yeah, Hammer, thank you, Kersey, for taking me back to this part of my childhood. I think every one of us who had at least somewhat dabbled with a Source engine back then, sooner or later you opened up a Half-Life maps, the multiplayer maps, or sometimes even the single player maps in Hammer, just to see and in awe of what had been done. Because what I did in Hammer was like cobbled together like 3 cubes or 3 rooms and thought, you know what, that looks pretty good and that's pretty intricate. And then you open up one of the official maps and it's just strewn full with triggers for cutscenes or script scenes and audio triggers and sound effects here and invisible things and switches. And then you realize, I know nothing. Okay, so we're here in Photoshop, so let me just take this part here, because we're not interested in anything else. And one thing is, this looks skewed. And the cool thing about Photoshop is, yes, I'm praising Photoshop once in a blue moon, is that you can do geometry adjustments, and you can do this with the camera raw filter. So essentially this tells Photoshop as if you were opening it up from a digital camera, which means you got all these things here like exposure, contrast, white balance, and none of these things I'm actually interested in. Only for now I will look here into geometry, and then I can have here where I put lines down where I can say, okay, this should be horizontal and this should be horizontal, and then it stretches it accordingly and tries to make these things rectilinear. And there we go. That's essentially it. And so this is the actual window without the windowsill. Let me just copy this and bring it into a new thing. And it's still somewhat skewed. I mean, here, this part here looks not right. And the reflection as well I want to take out for now, because again, reflections should not be baked into the texture, even if you're a PlayStation 1 game. So for this I just fill it with here some gradient like this. Again, for now we will never know what it's gonna be in the end. And because this looks awfully symmetrical, I do not need both sides of it, because I can just flip it in the texture. So the only thing that I want to make sure is that if I pull here one of these guide layers, you see here my guide layer is here at this corner, but when we look at it, how it behaves here, yeah, this is really skewed. So I need, for some reason, to adjust for this. But this is relatively simple, so all I need to do is make sure that what I'm going to distort ends up being straight. So this is why I plop down some guides and push this up like so. Hopefully that it stays within the guide. Yes, good. So underneath I just need to repaint what was there or what I actually need. Just to the center. And yeah, of course now I need to cut out the reflection again, because it changed slightly the geometry of everything. There we go. Something like this, and then I can just clip it here in the center. Or you know what, I will merge here the reflection down and say, you know what, this is my texture. This is half of my texture that I actually need. So let's bring this into PlayStation 1 resolution. And for that, again, I will just copy it and open a new document, and the width is 128. So one of my tiles is 128. And let's see, let's say it's 3 tiles down, so that's 128 times 3, which is 384. I paste it, and it's way too large. So let me adjust this. Let's say 10% and then just upscale it. So it's not 1:3, but actually 1:2.5. So I could either just stretch it, which might be a solution. You know what? Maybe I can even squash it down, because the center part, if you look at it, like it's a little bit like a menu, a UI box. This part here in the middle, just the middle part, if you look at this third here, this does not change a lot. So if this could repeat multiple times if we want really long windows, which we actually don't want. But instead I can just take out here the bottom part. Let's try this. Paste and move it up, and there shouldn't be too much difference, but you can see here the window doesn't line up neatly. There's some offset there. So instead, let's just use a very soft eraser and see if we can cheat our way around it, like so. And aha, this works. This works, and now I only need 2 tiles. So I just merge it down, copy, and now I can paste it here as my texture. And again, it's probably a little bit too bright. So this is window. This is why I put it here into its own little bin. Switch it to normal, and then have some more curves on top of it, and just make it a bit darker so that it roughly feels like it's part of the rest. And I think, fingers crossed, that should have been it. Let's save this, and save a copy, bring it over to Maya. Update the texture and see if it shows up in our... I said if it shows up, there we go. Yes, there we have it. So which means I can just use or misappropriate the door that we have. So if I just paste it here, it's exactly 3 tiles high. So I don't need the one here on top. So the one here in center, actually I can collapse down to something like this. So I can say now these 2 vertices merge to center. Mesh tools, merge to center, and here as well. So now I've made here of these 3 tiles, I made 2 tiles. So one is, so it has just a different aspect ratio now, because we also squashed the window a little bit. So theoretically this should work now. I just need to put it here. Okay, it's not working that well. Oh no, of course I can just move it over. So snap and snap. And here we have our window. And I can now just reflect it there in the center. Reverse the normals. And have here this reflection. And it really has here this PlayStation appeal to it. I kind of like it, I have to say. And that was actually quicker than I anticipated that it would be. And now I can do this, of course, since I have here this already in a cutout here. You know what? Let me just try this very quickly, that I select here everything that we've done. And I group it. So this is now our group. And if I duplicate it and pull it here on top. And then we have the rest there of the facade. I'm not quite certain that it lines up that well, but overall, at least this one half. Where was I? Yeah, this was the group. At least here, this half already lines up. Neat! That was quick, relatively speaking. So save this as a new version. And the last task for today will be, let's try this out, how it looks like with a downsampled texture size, that it feels more like the PS1. So how do I do this? Well, it's really simple. So I duplicate the texture that I have. So right now here, this entire texture atlas, just for reference, is 1280 by 1280 pixels, so that each of these little tiles is 128. Again, I want a quarter resolution of this. So I duplicate everything, merge it down, and discard the hidden layer. So everything sits now on one layer. Then that is a really cool thing. So I can say width is whatever I have divided by 4, and that's 320 by 320. And one thing is important, that I resample here as nearest neighbor, so that it keeps here this crispiness. If I switch over to, let's say, preserve details, you can see here everything gets very soft and yeah, blurry and very boring. So instead I want here this nearest neighbor. I want it to have here this grainy crispiness of the PS1. So kind of looks good, I have to say. So only thing now is that we need to do is reduce the number of colors here. So for this I say image and indexed color. And I mean, we can use different palettes. For example, I have lots of palettes for retro games. For example, the Commodore 64. This would how it would look in the palette of the Commodore 64 with dithering and without. And I mean, that's a little bit, that's very little in terms of colors, because we're not using any purples or blues or greens. I mean, I have other colors like the EGA palette, which is a little bit more vibrant, but still not the right one. And I mean, we could also go Game Boy colors, but instead I will say, let's use the actual colors that are there, but only use 16 colors. So instead of using a preset palette, it uses the colors that are most prevalent already in the image and tries to maximize this. And of course, I can also say if I want a certain dithering pattern, I mean, with the PlayStation 1, you could, I think, even use 15-bit textures, but it would only render like, I think, 8-bit. So in the end, CGA colors. Yes, let's try CGA colors. If we want to have a look and how it looks with CGA colors, I definitely got those. So load. So these are the colors that I have. I got the NES palette, by the way, or some Animal Crossing. So let's go with the good old CGA, the ugly fuchsia, aqua, light gray, and black. Yeah. I mean, if you squint and got enough resolution, then actually it doesn't look too bad. But yeah, I think, Kersey, no. I will go with the perceptual one. So what I meant to say is, you actually want here not to use for dithering not the pattern, because this Bayer patterning is actually done when rendering by the PlayStation, or I think you can even switch it off. But instead with your textures, usually I've seen PlayStation games with a diffusion patterning, so it feels a little bit more random than here with this strict noise or strict pattern, where it's very clear that there is a pattern going on. Diffusion again feels a little bit softer, I would say, painterly. So, and with that, all I have to do is save it and exchange it. And again with the UV textures, since the UV in comparison to coordinates, UV is always relative. So like I said, it goes from 0 to 1. So no matter how big the image is, a texture pixel will always sit at, let's say, 20% from the left and 15% from the bottom or something. And no matter how big the image is, it will always reference the right portion. So this is why you can use different sizes and textures, and it always will work correctly. So I overwrite here the 16 colors quarter and change this one here. So feast your eyes on this high definition and don't get used to it, because we will switch this now with these 16-bit colors. Okay, you ready? I will switch in 3, 2, 1. There we go. So looks not too bad. Only the white wall here, this is just a smattering of 2 different color of pixels, whereas the door actually looks pretty neat, I have to say, there in this kind of rendition. So maybe probably having this size for the patches, maybe that was the wrong call, I would say. Or maybe I just need to work there on the texture a little bit. So let's switch over to the shaded mode, and I have here, I think, 1 light source that I can move around. And I mean, real-time shadows is something that the first PlayStation definitely could not do, or not in many games without doing some tricks to it. But overall, I think it has this. I already see some nice PlayStation 1 feelings. I see some feelings coming up. This does not make sense. But overall, you know what? Pretty happy with how it turned out, especially with these weird, or not weird, but baked in lighting, where it really feels like, okay, it's getting darker towards here the corner, which again, it does not really, because I'm not using screen space ambient occlusion. This again is baked into the texture. Pretty neat. And Vanilla DC says, I like the garage door with this resolution, right? It again, through the graininess, suddenly it feels like there is more happening than you would think. And one thing that I just realized, you can see here that there is a repetition there with these 2 garage doors. Maybe I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be nice if this one is just reflected horizontally? Let's see. Flip, no. I meant to flop, no. I need to select them, and then, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So that now it really feels like it's reflected in the center. Well, now, of course, this part with a window or whatever it is not. But yeah, overall, kind of neat. And when you're far out, zoomed out far enough, it kind of looks again pretty much to what we had before with a high resolution. So again, I will save this as a new version. Overall, pretty happy with how this turned out, how quickly. And this is why I said this is my little Zen project, because when you do some, I don't know, photorealistic hard surface modeling, you really get bogged down in all the little details, like every little plastic molding line. Sometimes you want to recreate them, and something as simple as you would say a Game Boy or something has suddenly 1 million or even more polygons. And if you really try at least to limit yourself to the limitations of the PlayStation 1. I mean, you maybe in case you're wondering how many polygons does this scene now have, and I can tell you it's at least here triangles, it's 580 triangles. So that's not even half what a character in late 1990s had in terms of polygons. I think character models had 1,000 polygons, I think, around that time. So yeah, it's, despite being relatively wasteful, using so many patches for everything and vertices, it's not that much. Again, nowadays graphics cards can render millions of polygons, and it's not even half 1,000 polygons here. Of course, it's not a finished house yet, but overall I think it works. All right, I started a little bit late today, and I will end also a little bit later, but not as late. So this was 2.5 hours. Thank you everyone for sticking with me, for doing weird PlayStation 1 nostalgia, very personal nostalgia for me. I hope it wasn't too stressful hearing me gush about, oh my god, PlayStation 1 graphics. It's so fun and admire talk. And yeah, again, thank you everyone. And the next stream will be on Sunday next week, so not tomorrow. Next time, hopefully, I will also be on time. I'm not 100% sure that I can do a stream because I think I will have to work. But the good thing is I think I can work from home, so I could maybe work and stream. Oh, I'm not sure. It depends on how well I get along with my work. Because if I'm ahead, then I have time. I can devote a couple of hours to stream. We will see. I will keep you in the loop. Mr. Troy says, I'm jealous. Oh, of what? That it looks that nice? Or fun is always a venereal disease, lies. I'm always surprised when you say that it was funny or entertaining, because to me, sometimes I feel like, again, I want really to show you something and have it develop, and then I make lots of mistakes. I counted like 100 misclicks that I did. So thank you for saying that this was fun as always. And Mr. Troy says, I want to make a 3D PlayStation style game so bad. Oh, okay, in that case. Me too. And so I thought, you know what? Maybe I try to recreate something that is very simple. I mean, how hard could a house be? It's just a couple of cubes meshed together. How long could it take? Probably an hour. So this was now, I think, my 4th hour on this. And okay, frankly, the most time I spent on these steps here, just so that everything lines up with the texture and so on. So this was really the most time that I spent. But yeah, Mr. Troy, go for it. It's like I said, it's a little bit like pixel art for 3D, because you don't have to be super detailed, and it even hurts if you're a little bit too detailed. Everything can be flat shaded, and you should be good to go. But then again, if you are a little bit like me, you can see how long I spent to just tweak little vertices here, and the edge doesn't line up, and maybe I get back into it and do something about this horrible pixel wallpaper here plastering the facade. Yeah, you can always get carried away. So congratulations again on releasing your remake of a Ludonara game. You released something. That's really, I hope you celebrate, because, well, coffee. I mean, you said you're halfway through your coffee, so you're already celebrating. I'm terrible at pixel art too. In that case, just try to use as little polygons as possible. Maybe if it helps, I can show you some of the models used in the LSD Dream emulator. LSD Dream emulator wiki. And hopefully you feel a little bit better then, because they barely work for what they are, but still somehow, because they are so minimalist, it feels like you see more in them than there's actually there. So gameplay elements, do we have anything there? Long hallway, textures, music, objects, maybe there's some images of the objects. So the double face, things like this. So this is just a texture. This really is just a texture on top of it. Or the floating astronaut. And this is one of the more advanced models there. So overall, it's very liberating to see how little sometimes there is in terms of actual modeling and pixel art or anything going on. I mean, of course, you can spend lots of time with that, but I mean, look at it. It roughly is comprehensible. Okay, this probably should be some sort of bull or cow, but you have here holes everywhere. It's grow shaded, I think, but yeah, I mean, barely passable at what it does, but it works. It works. I see there something that is akin to a bovine, and I think that's already good enough. So I would say if you go for PlayStation 1 aspects, I mean, look at this fish here. This is like 20 polygons or something. You should be good. You should be fine. The less you put in there, the more people can figure out for themselves. How has Quant been? Mr. Troy says, "OMG, that's my inspiration." See, there we go. Don't stress too much over it. There's a gondola appearing in Kyoto. Apparently, all I see is pixels and like 20 polygons. Okay, how has Quant been? I have no idea what Quant is. Or is it the Q-Bird game? Mr. Troy says, "I'm used to having thousands or millions in my budget. Making sub 400 poly models is the challenge." Yeah, that's the thing. Of course, you can always go for more, but the challenge is to restrain yourself. Okay, Quant, the search engine. You know what? It's good. I think I only used Google the last week like 3 or 4 times for, I think, mostly for image search. But so far, I type things in, and I get where I want to go. Of course, I have completely forgotten that the thing is called Quant. Completely forgotten. So thank you for reminding me. But overall, I think that speaks the most for a search engine is if you don't notice it when you're using it. So yeah, I can so far timidly can recommend it, I would say. And again, you can always go back to Google if you need it for certain things, but so far 2 thumbs up. And right. Yeah, Quant. What a stupid name. Not something that makes a lot of sense, like Google or Alta Vista or Yahoo names. Anyway, I need to wrap this up, and I'm very bad at wrapping things up. Also bad at hitting the right buttons on my Stream Deck. Yes, and Kersey always Ask Jeeves. Oh, that's so retro, Kersey. Anyone remembers Ask Jeeves? Or what was the other one with the dog? Lycus. Oh, now I'm old. Anyone remembers search engines from 1997? This was when there were still multiple players. And the good thing is Yahoo is still around, I've heard. So cheers to that. Alrighty, so like I said, I don't know how to wrap things up. This is why I try to wish you, as always, like 3 or 4 times in a row, a wonderful week. And I hope, like I said, I can make Sunday. And if not, I will let you know, hopefully a little bit earlier than this week. And until then, I say, take care of yourselves, celebrate your successes, however small they may be, because you deserve it. And especially nowadays with everything going on, you really need to look after yourself and celebrate whatever you can. DC says, night, and hope everyone has a nice week. Mr. Troy says, the good thing. That's the good thing, indeed. Alrighty, thank you so much for dropping by, everyone. And yeah, have a great week, and take care. Bye-bye.